Hey everybody, David here, and this is another Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition class breakdown tutorial, and today's particular tutorial deals with the Sorcerer and its baseline class features. Now the Sorcerer is a really nice range class in Dungeons & Dragons 5e, and it has a not so traditional feel to it, and we'll get into that just a little bit later, but it is a charisma-based class, so you want to make sure you choose a race that has a good charisma, like maybe the half-elf. Possibly you could go with a tiefling, but it's ultimately up to you because Dungeons & Dragons 5e gives you the freedom to use any class with any race, and that's a really good feature about the game. So, as you can see, you are going to get a multitude of spells. First off, you're going to get cantrips. You're going to get cantrips as you raise your level. You're going to get spells from spell level 1 to spell level 9. And you're going to see that you're going to know a number of spells, up to 15 different spells at level 20. You're going to get a mechanic that uses sorcery points, where you will start at level 2 with 2, and then you'll gain sorcery points up to 20, which is your max level. You will get the same universal proficiency bonus, just like every other class in D&D 5e, starting at a +2 proficiency bonus at level 1, reaching a maximum of +6. Now, basic class features, it is a 1d6 hit point per level for the Sorcerer class. Now for first level, you're going to start at max hit points, which is 6, plus your Constitution modifier. Now for every level above level 1, 2 and above, you're going to either do one of two things. You can roll a 1d6, or if your Dungeon Master allows you, if he or she allows you, you can also take a flat 4, but don't forget to add your Constitution modifier there also. Now for the proficiencies, you really don't get any armor proficiencies with the Sorcerer, but the weapon proficiencies that you get will be daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. The Sorcerer gets no tool proficiencies, and the saving throw proficiencies that you will get is Constitution and Charisma. And the saving throw proficiencies mean if you roll a Constitution or Charisma saving throw, you will add in your proficiency bonus depending on your level. So it's like a little bonus for the Sorcerer class. For skills, you're going to get to choose 2 from the list of Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, and Religion. And for starting equipment, you are going to get to choose 3d4 times 10 gold pieces. If you do that, you're going to have to buy everything yourself. Or you can go ahead and take the class feature here, which will let you choose equipment on these different steps, and also take into consideration every class in D&D 5e gets to choose a background, and you'll get to choose your background, and each background will give you a little bit of coin and also more adventuring equipment and a couple more skill proficiencies that you'll be proficient in. So let's go ahead and dive in with these features. There's a lot of them for the Sorcerer. Now the first thing that you're going to get at level 1, really straightforward, you're going to get a Sorceress Origin. And what the Sorceress Origin does is it basically is an archetype like all of the other classes in D&D 5e get. Now there's 2 different archetypes or Sorceress Origins for the Sorcerer. The first is the Draconic Bloodline, and you can choose a multitude of different color dragons, and you can get perks for that color dragon. Secondly is the Wild Magic Sorceress Origin, and it adds a lot of fun and a lot of drama to your Wild Magic Sorcerer. And there's Wild Magic Surges, which there's a table of 50 different surges that can happen, negative and good. So those are two pretty nice Sorceress Origins or archetypes that you'll get for the Sorcerer. So you'll get to choose one of those, and those Sorceress Origins will stack more class features. Starting at level 1, you'll get a 1 at 6, 14, and 18. And like I said, those stack on top of the multitude of things that you're already going to get for the Sorcerer. Now at level 1, remember we talked about your spell casting. You get cantrips, you're going to know a certain amount of spells, and you're going to know spell level stuff from 1 to 9. Now take into consideration, this is not your your typical traditional type of spellcaster, and we're going to get into that now. So as you can see, first off, there is a multitude of spells at your disposal for the sorcerer class. Your cantrips, or you could call them level zeros. Then your spells for level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can see there are a ton of spells for the sorcerer to use, and you can cast those as you obtain more levels. You'll be able to cast higher level spell levels. Okay, so let's get into the mechanics of spell casting. First off, like I mentioned right off the bat, charisma is your primary stat. That's the stat that you want to make sure that you max out first. Now, when you do this, it's going to take two things into consideration. Your two primary things for your caster is going to be your spell save DC, which is going to be a base of 8 plus your proficiency bonus and your charisma modifier. So over time, your spell save DC is going to go up because your proficiency bonus will go up by default, and as you put more ability score improvement points into your charisma, it'll make your DC go up also. And what the spell save DC is when you make someone roll a saving throw. So if you cast Fireball, that target or targets affected by Fireball will have to make dexterity saving throws. So their dexterity saving throw will be based on your spell save DC. And like I said, 8 plus proficiency plus charisma. So that's spell save DC. Charisma is also important for your spell attack modifier. Now, if you're casting mostly cantrips, but there's other spells that are going to require you to do an attack roll versus armor class. And this is where your proficiency bonus and your charisma modifier are added together. So therefore, your spell attack modifier over time will also increase as you level. From your proficiency bonus going up by default and adding more points into charisma, which making your charisma modifier get higher and higher. So, charisma, important for the sorcerer. Now, like I said, you're going to get cantrips. You're going to start with 4 cantrips. Now, as you level, you're going to get up to a maximum of 6 cantrips. Now, we also talked about spell slots. Spell slots are basically, it shows how many spell slots you have to cast spells of 1st level through 9th level. Now, example is if you have Burning Hands, that is a 1st level spell. Now, if you have 1st level spell slots, you can cast Burning Hands. Now, some spells allow you, like Burning Hands, to use another higher spell slot to do a more increased, more potent version of Burning Hands. So if you are, say, you're level 3, you'll be able to cast 2nd level spells. Then you can go ahead, instead of using that 1st level spell slot, you can use a 2nd level spell slot and gain additional damage on your Burning Hands. And it works for a whole lot of spells in D&D 5e. It's a great new mechanic that they've actually introduced in 5e. Now, also, you're going to know spells known. And like I said, this is where the not-so-traditional part of being a charisma-based or intelligence-based caster comes into play. Now, usually you would have to pray to your god or research your spell book to make a pool of spells. Well, the sorcerer is not like that. You know a certain amount of spells. Now, as you can look and see, we're going to go back to your the matrix here. You're going to see that you're going to know a total of 2 spells off the bat. Obviously, you're only going to know 1st level spells, so you're only going to know it's 2 total, and then you can cast 2 spells, 2 1st level spells 2 times a day out of that pool of spells. And as you level, you're going to know more and more and more and more and more spells, all the way up to a maximum of 15 spells. So that is the mechanic for spells known. So you're not going to have to put this spell list together and, out of all of these spells, it's just going to be so much easier. And in some ways, I wish they actually did spells known for every single class in 5e, including the cleric, including the wizard, and the druid, your more traditional types of spellcasters. So I definitely do like the spells known list. Now, that's basically everything you have to worry about for spellcasting, except one more thing: your spellcasting focus. Now, Your spellcasting focus does not give you any kind of plus modifier to hit. It does nothing like that. In Dungeons & Dragons 5e, what a spellcasting focus is, it satisfies the material components of your spell. So if you need bat guano or a witch's eyebrow, that spellcasting focus will satisfy that. Now take into consideration, if you are casting a spell that requires a monetary valued item, like a 100 gold piece item for Identify, then you will have to have that monetary item in your possession, and sometimes it will consume that item and you will lose it. So spellcasting focus, that's what it does. And also in the equipment section in chapter, I believe it's chapter 5 in equipment in the player's handbook, there's also a spell component pouch, and the spell component pouch does the same thing as the spellcasting focus. So there's all the mechanics for spellcasting. Now also at level 2 you are going to get sorcery points, which sorcery points is a sorcerer only type of perk or mechanic that the class has. So this is where you tap into a deep wellspring of magic within yourself. This wellspring is represented by sorcery points, which allow you to create a variety of magical effects. Now first off, you're going to get to basically convert these into either spell slots, or you can buy spell points with your spell slot. So it's going to go back and forth like that. You're going to start with 2 of these sorcerer points, and you will gain more as you level, and as we saw in the Matrix, you'll get up to 20 of them. And there's also another stipulation here where it says you can never have more sorcery points than shown on the table for your level. Now, if you spend all of your sorcery points, you will be able to recover them, but you will need a long rest to recover all of your sorcery points. So, one of the features of Font of Magic is the flexible casting. And this is where you can use your sorcery points to gain additional spell slots. Or you can sacrifice your spell slots to gain additional sorcery points. And then you learn other ways to use your sorcery points, which is with your meta magic that you will obtain at level 3. And you'll be able to add more perks onto your spells. Now when you create a spell slot, you transform unexpended sorcery points into one spell slot as a bonus action. Now take that into consideration. You have to have a bonus action left on your turn. Now the table is right here, and as you can see, if you want to obtain a first level spell slot, it will cost you 2 sorcery points, and the spell does, spell cost does go up. If you want to obtain a second level spell slot, then it's going to cost you 3 sorcery points, a third level spell slot 5, fourth level spell slot 6, fifth level spell slot 7 points. Now, the maximum spell slot that you can obtain, that you can purchase with your sorcery points, is 5. So that's why the chart only goes up to 5. And this works vice versa as well. If you need sorcery points, then you can sell a 5th level spell slot and get 7 sorcery points. You can sell a 4th, get 6 points, 3rd level 5 points, and it just keeps going on, and the number gets smaller as you use lower level spell slots. Now, just remember, you have to have a bonus action to do this, and that's flexible casting, the mechanic that goes with your sorcery points and Font of Magic. Really cool perk. I like how you can sort of swing the pendulum back and forth between spell slots and sorcery points. Really cool feature. Now here's your meta magic. The meta magic, basically this is where you gain the ability to twist your spells to suit the needs of the spell that you're casting. At level 3, you will gain 2 of the following. There's a total of 8 meta magic options of your choice. And also you will gain another meta magic choice at level 10 and level 17 for a total of 4. Now you can use only one meta magic option on a spell when you cast it, but sometimes it will allow you to use multiple meta magic abilities together. Now, the first meta magic ability is called Careful Step. This is where you cast a spell that forces other creatures to make a saving throw. You can protect some of the creatures from the spell's full force. To do so, you will spend 1 sorcery point and choose a number of those creatures up to your charisma modifier, which is your main stat, so you'll be able to affect quite a few. Now, a chosen creature automatically succeeds on its saving throws against a spell. So if you're going to be casting Fireball into the fray, you can make your party members be successful and only take a certain amount of damage. So that's basically what Careful Spell means. Now, Distant Spell, that is another meta magic feature, and this is when you cast a spell that has a range of 5 feet or greater. You can spend 1 sorcery point to double the range of the spell. That's pretty nice. Pretty straightforward. No need to go over that. Now, there's another perk to this, and if you cast a spell that has a range of touch, you can spend 1 sorcery point to make the range of the spell 30 feet instead. Really nice, straightforward. So that's a 2-for-1 purchase there on Distant Spell. Empowered Spell is when you roll damage for a spell, you can expend 1 sorcery point to re-roll a number of the damage dice up to your charisma modifier with a minimum of 1. But, pretty much you're going to have more than a minimum of 1 because charisma is your main stat anyway. And when you use Empowered Roll, when you spend your sorcery point, and when you re-roll the damage, you have to take those new rolls as it states. Now, you can use Empowered Spell even if you have already used a different meta magic option during the casting of the spell. So if you want to use Distant Spell, you can also use Empowered Spell also. But just make sure you have to add the sorcery point. So instead of 1, it would be 2. But that's a nice perk to be able to use Empowered Spell as a bonus. Now, Extended Spell is when you cast a spell that has a duration of 1 minute or longer. You can spend 1 sorcery point to double its duration to a maximum of 24 hours. Wow, that is really nice. No need to go over that anymore. It's straightforward. Now, Heightened Spell is when you cast a spell that forces a creature to make a saving throw to resist its effects. You can spend 3 sorcery points to give 1 target of the spell disadvantage on its first saving throw against the spell. So it's the first saving throw, and it costs 3 sorcery points. So it's definitely it's an expensive meta magic feature, but Heightened Spell is really nice. Now, Quicken Spell is when you cast a spell that has a casting time of 1 action. You can spend 2 sorcery points to change the casting time to a 1 bonus action for this spell that you're casting. Another really nice meta magic feature. Subtle Spell is when you cast a spell, you can spend 1 sorcery point to cast it without any somatic or verbal components. Now, somatic and verbal components are somatic is the waving and wavy gesture of your hands to cast a spell. Verbal is basically speaking, Clado, Verictu, Necktie, or whatever, That is somatic and verbal components. So Subtle Spell, you will not have to do any kind of wavy hand gesturing, or you won't have to speak. But you will have to still have the material components. Twin Spell is the final one, and this is when you cast a spell that targets only 1 creature and does not have a range of self. You can spend a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level to target a second creature in range with the same spell, and 1 sorcery point if that spell is a cantrip. That's straightforward. That's really nice. So just like it states, if it's a cantrip, you want to cast it, 1 creature. Twin Spell, you can hit another creature. 1 point for a cantrip, or a number of sorcery points equal to the spell level that you're casting. Really nice, straightforward. I like it. So, meta magic, another great thing to do with your sorcery points. Now you're going to see that you're going to get sorcerer ability score improvements. You're going to get those at 4, 8, 12, 16, and 19. And what ability score improvements do are 2 things. First off, you can take these and put more points into your ability score. So if you need to get your charisma from an 18 to a 20, you will be able to put your 2 points that you get into charisma. Now, if you have 2 scores at 17, you can also split those 2 points up and put 1 point into 2 different ability scores. Now, also, if you want to take a feat in Chapter 6 in the optional rules in the player's handbook, if your dungeon master allows it, he or she will let you choose a feat, and you can forego and not take your ability score points, and you can take a feat. Now, some feats do give you 1 stat point and some other perks, but they're pretty pricey, and I would make sure that you have your charisma, and definitely your charisma maxed out a little bit first before you start going hog wild on feats. So 2 points into 1 stat, 1 point into 2 different stats, or if your DM, if he or she allows you to take a feat, there you go. You'll get those at 8, 12, 16, and 19. And at level 4. Lastly, you'll get Sorceress Restoration. And this is a pretty nice little feature here. So if you take a short rest, you will regain 4 expended sorcery points after that short rest. So it doesn't say that you have to be tapped at 0. It just says after a short rest, you get 4 expended sorcery points. So that's a really nice perk. So that's it, everybody. That is the Baseline Sorcerer. I hope you guys understand the Sorcerer a little bit more. I enjoy doing these for you guys, and thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you want to try a sorcerer, no matter if it's a wild magic sorcerer or a draconic sorcerer, check out my website at tabletopping.net. I have over 840 character sheets, every class, every level, 1 to 20, every archetype. All of these character sheets are on 3-page PDF formats, so you can just take a level 10 draconic sorcerer and go to your game and check it out and see how you like it. So thank you guys again. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.